Okay, Denny, can you hear us?
Yep.
Good deal. We're going to go ahead and get started with Denny Hamlin, who is trying for his third consecutive Daytona 500 win. We're going to start off with questions right away, and we're going to go to Bob Pockris. Go with your question, Bob.
Yeah, Denny, has Michael Jordan been more involved or less involved with the team than what you thought? And has it increased or decreased over the last couple of weeks?
I don't. I would say that we've talked more in the last couple weeks, but he's just excited. But the involvement on the race team, he's got a great team of people that I work with, and really gives us a lot of autonomy to make sure that we're doing stuff the way that we see fit. So it's working well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is going to come from Rich Thompson. Go ahead with your question, Rich.
Oh, hi, Denny. Just talk about this great opportunity you're looking at right now to win 3 straight Daytonas, kind of a historic event.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big opportunity for us, and my team, and myself personally. It's just never would imagine we'd be in this position by any means, especially 5 years ago when we didn't have any. But yeah, it's I always think about in these situations, and anytime you get asked, I think about all the ones that slipped away, that I had in control and didn't make the right decision at the end to finish it off. But it would be by far my biggest victory of my career, and one that I probably wouldn't exchange for anything.
You and Chris got it right out of the gate in 19, and then last year you both 2-0 in this race together. Just talk about his role in this.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of allows me to kind of do what I do on the super speedways. He tries to give me the fastest car that he can possibly give me, but it all comes down to the end, right? It's like, is your car damaged? Do you have any teammates at the end? Can you make the right moves and the right decision? So, for him, it's about, a lot of it is around strategy. It's around making sure that he puts me in a good position at the end to be up front when it really, really counts. So that's where, where our communication and our partnership really works well on these super speedways.
Thank you, Denny. Thanks, Matt. Very good.
Welcome. Our next question will come from Edgar Thompson. Go ahead with your question, Edgar.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Denny. You said you would have imagined it 5 years ago. What about in 2018 when you were having such a rough year? What's changed in you since then? I mean, I know your team's changed, but in you to get you to this point where you've had 13 wins and 2 Daytonas in 2 seasons.
Well, I certainly, I didn't take for granted that, we win every year, and that's just part of what we do. 2013, we went down to the wire and didn't win until the very last race at Homestead. But just, I think, 2018 was just kind of one of those wake up years of like, I need to get better. Everything needs to get better. And it just kind of went through a transition there where really kind of worked on myself on and off the racetrack, and really focused a lot of my efforts on getting better as a race car driver. And really, Chris did a great job of, getting the most out of me each and every week. And so when he came in, a lot of it was, me working on the driving aspect, giving him the free reins to go do whatever he needed to do with the race car, and us trusting each other. And I think that, whatever has happened, it's clicked and it's worked well, and we've gotten a lot of success from that.
What do you know of MJ's background with NASCAR? I mean, he grew up in NASCAR country, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a big fan of the sport and always has been. And so, now he's embedded in it very heavily. So he's excited, obviously, about Daytona next week. And yeah, he's he's as excited as he's ever been. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Jim Utter. Go ahead with your question, Jim.
Hey, Denny. You've talked a lot in recent years about, in regards to the championship, the importance of simply getting and putting yourself in the position of getting to the championship and then, circumstances often dictate what happened. With the various changes to NASCAR schedule this year, from your team and your personal standpoint, how do you look at that? How does that journey change to you as far as putting yourselves in the position of getting to the championship 4 again?
Now that's a good question. That's a thought out, nice question there. I just think that it does play a role. I mean, when we look at our season goals, we have numbers we'd like to get to, but in the end, where we've had success, a lot of those tracks are gone this year. You go from 20 550 races to 12 road courses. We didn't have any wins in the last 2 years, so that goes from 2 to 7. So the schedule hurts us as far as our historical data is concerned, and kind of the success that me and Chris have had. But we find different goals, like, okay, to get to the wins that we feel like we need to be at, to make the Final Four, to have the bonus points that we need to carry us, just in case we have a bad second to last round like we did last year. We need to get to a certain amount of points. Well, how do we get to those points? What is the avenue that we need to take to get those points, especially with the schedule shift? So for me, it's working on my road course skills. I've got to get better at them. I mean, it's a bigger part of our schedule now. It's not something you can just kind of write off and say, the road to the championship doesn't lead through these races, so that's not where I'm going to focus my effort. You got to look at the numbers and say, okay, this is a significant part of our schedule. How can I get better as a driver and improve on them to give ourselves better opportunity to win on those tracks that I historically have a low winning percentage on. So I thought that we were pretty good on the road courses last year. We obviously had some great finishes. We ran up front, but I just think, I need to get a little better to really be one of those guys that's going to be a threat at it every single time we hit the track. So the road to the championship 4, in short, is a different road for us than what it was over the last couple of years.
Thanks a lot.
Got it.
Our next question is going to come from Josh Stewart. Go ahead with the question, Josh.
Hey, Denny. Can you talk about the process for hiring Mike Wheeler and why you felt he would be like the right fit for Bubba Wallace as far as that relationship?
Well, I thought he was a great person I've had a lot of success with on the racetrack. And it was going to be a person that was going to be easily communicated between, what I can bring to the table and the asset that I can be to the team. He's already been a JGR guy for all of his career, been associated in the Toyota brand now for 12 years. So it just was the right fit for this team. So he's done an absolutely phenomenal job. I was taking my dad through the race shop, giving him a little tour, yesterday evening, and he's like, "Who does all this? Who got all this stuff together?" And I said, "Well, Wheels is a big part of that." So he's done a phenomenal job with the whole team, getting everything ready, and he just was the right fit for me on the ownership side, and a lot of that goes to our past history.
And Mike, you're co-owners with someone who has like who's been in one of the best coach-player relationships ever with Phil Jackson. Is there any way that he can help translate that as far as the Bubba Mike Wheeler relationship is from his experience?
Well, I think that you have two extremely, in the Michael and Phil thing, they both had success, even without each other at times. And so you had two great people that were great at what they did. And when they came together, they were super great. So I think that as long as Bubba is continuing to be better as a race car driver, and Wheels is open to new ideas on the car side, and I think that they both are great. I mean, I think the results that Mike Wheeler had with Matt DiBenedetto in 2019 was really, really good. They performed at a very high level with honestly less technology and information and equipment than what they're going to be having this year. So I certainly believe that they're set up to have good success.
Thanks much, Denny.
Our next question is going to come from Mark Garrow. Go ahead with the question, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Denny. A guy starts out his career on the Cup Series, and a major bucket list item is to somehow win the Daytona 500. Does it kind of blow you away, given your roots and where you came from, and as your career progressed, it kind of blow you away? Now we're talking about Denny Hamlin. Can you win 3 in a row?
Well, I mean, I find the most pride in that I think it's harder than it ever has been. I mean, you go back and watch races from 2004, 2005. Like there were just 5 or 6 superior cars that they could pull away from the pack, or they were better. Cars were strung out more. The wrecks weren't. You didn't have as much attrition as what you have now. It's harder. It is truly, in my mind, harder to win now because the field is closer. The chances of you getting in wrecks are higher. And everyone's car is so close. It's very, very difficult. And so I just think that, it is a skill game, but sometimes you get unlucky in that skill game. And I think that there's a lot of guys that are very, very good on the super speedways that just have been very, very unlucky in the last few years. And so, we've been fortunate. We've been on the other side of it. So, that the hammer hasn't hit on us yet, but I mean, we could break out of the next 5 Daytona 500s. Who knows, right? So we've been fortunate, but it's still in the end a skill game and making sure you're putting yourself in the right position. So yeah, I mean, I just think that I take a lot of pride in them. I really do. They're definitely not by chance or by accident.
No doubt about that. You spoke about the road course a moment ago. We have the course right after the 500. You go back to the Daytona road course. You were one of the few guys that kind of kept Chase Elliott honest last year on the road course. I mean, you chased him hard at Daytona, came up a little bit short. What kind of race do you think we'll see this time around on the Daytona road course? And, what makes Chase Elliott so special on these things?
Well, I think that, certainly he's got a lot of skill, first of all, on the road courses. Ever since, was it probably 2 or 3 years ago, him and, in my mind, Martin were the kind of the 2 elite guys on the road courses. And, I've always kind of considered myself, currently in the, talks of like a 3.5 to 6 to 7 guy, depending on how my car is that day. But they find a way to win and be up front even when their car is not perfect. So to me, they're kind of head and shoulders over everyone else. And but I hope that we see a good race. I mean, the Clash has always been a very exciting race because it's been short. It's been on the super speedway. There's been sparks flying and big, crashes and things like that. Everyone loves road course racing until you get too much of it. And then they're like, oh, well, that's enough of that. What's the next thing that we can do? So I just don't, hope we don't oversaturate it and it could get strung out. I mean, at one time of the race, I mean, it was excited at the end because there was a caution, but I mean, he had like a 9-second lead over me at some point. So, that could happen as well. And then, you'll hear an uproar about they need to put it back on the oval.
All right, man. Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, thanks.
Our next question is going to come from Jordan Bondurant. Go ahead with your question, Jordan.
Hey, Denny. I just wanted to get your thoughts about or your reaction to Southside Speedway closing down. And I know South Boston Speedway put out a statement today saying they were optimistic that they'll be able to go racing this year. Just what are your thoughts on sort of how this pandemic has affected the local short track scene, especially in Virginia and across the country? And do you feel like that sort of is hindering sort of development for younger drivers who, like you, are trying to cut their teeth on the local short tracks?
Well, it certainly will have a long-term effect. I mean, I don't think we'll know that for a really long time, but it's disappointing to say the least. But I mean, these tracks are doing everything they can. I mean, they've got, you know, sanction fees out the wazoo, if they want to be NASCAR affiliated. It's hard. It's a hard business to be in. You know, I hate seeing, these tracks that have been around for forever, shutting down. We see it in the real world as well, right? I mean, restaurants that have been open for forever, shutting down, businesses, small businesses. So, short tracks are a small business. They're not a big business by any means. They rely on people going through that front gate. They got to pay a purse. The guys that are racing, for little money compared to what the cost of it is. It's just the whole thing is broken, and I don't know how to fix it. But we certainly need our short tracks to be our feeder into the Cup Series. It's no different than any other sport. It starts in high school and junior college, and just keeps going on up, and you find yourself in the pros. So we need that base level to keep the sport strong in the long run.
And just unrelated, how have you sort of been managing your time, and your obligations between Joe Gibbs Racing and your new team being a driver owner?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my standpoint, I'm really looking forward to going to the racetrack and then concentrating on one thing, and that's being a race car driver and getting the most out of it. For myself, I felt like February 1st was the date and where I'm kind of done on the day-to-day for 2311, and I just think that now my focus is really on the 11 FedEx team and how we can win a lot of races and win a championship. That's where ultimately is going to be the best thing for me in the long run, is to continue to be successful. And that'll be a good thing for my race team as well, is that as long as I keep my own track success, I can continue to be an asset. And that's something that is good for them as well. So this is where my focus is now. I'll spend, a day and a half during the week that I typically would have off in the middle of the week. That will be my time to concentrate on 2311. But, my preparation time, my post-race time will be unchanged here on the driver's side.
Thanks.
Our next question is going to come from Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead with the question, Jordan.
Denny, in your many dealings with NASCAR and your conversations you usually have with them, what is your relationship like with Ben Kennedy and your impression of him and kind of his role going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to Ben a whole lot, but I need to grow that relationship with him. I have a lot of questions that, maybe he can help me with, but he's certainly part of NASCAR's future. I almost, picture or kind of figure him to be kind of like what Coy is with Joe Gibbs Racing. Like, he's in all the meetings. He never really says a whole lot, but he's listening and taking notes. And so, certainly he's the succession plan. He's a driver. He understands, the competition side. So certainly think he can be a great asset to the sport going forward. And really, I want to grow that relationship with him and have talks with him throughout the year.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Jeff Kolb. Go ahead with the question, Jeff.
Hey, Denny, thanks for your time. When the new team was announced, you and MJ both spoke about your desire to stand alongside Bubba in his push for change. He's spoken pretty openly about wanting to be a trailblazer for more minority drivers reaching the top level of NASCAR. In terms of that diversity issue, what do you think you, Michael Jordan, and Bubba Wallace can accomplish?
Well, a lot, because we have a big platform, right? This is a platform that's a lot different. Michael Jordan has a huge following, and that following is now peaking and having interest in NASCAR. I think that you have a lot of people that have never attended NASCAR races before that will probably go, knowing that their favorite guy might be there or whatever, what have you. But certainly I think that, those are discussions that are ongoing with our team, is to figure out, what is our plan for action as far as that's concerned. I think we're working with our sponsors as well. It's important to them. So, this is, we're running a race team, but, this is also about a bigger message. And, it starts from the executive side where, we're extremely diverse. And so I really believe that, hopefully we can continue to push change and make the sport even more inclusive. I think NASCAR's done a phenomenal job. They had did a great job last year with everything that went on, whether it be, the Confederate flag ban. They're really, pushing, boundaries that they'd never really pushed before. And certainly if that opens up the fan base for NASCAR, that's going to be better for everyone.
And last question on that. How are you seeing that change maybe move at a different pace since everything that happened with Bubba last year?
What do you mean exactly?
In terms of with the sport and, sponsors getting more interested in supporting minority drivers and things to that end?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. Bubba's, certainly had a great relationship with the sponsors that we have this year. We have some new ones as well that, weren't part of Bubba Wallace or this race team last year, that are new to the sport. So we really feel like there's a lot of opportunities to, use this platform to definitely, voice change. And it's just going to take some time. It really, nothing's going to happen overnight. Again, it's part of our plan going forward, but we would need to be strategic with it, and we need to make sure that we're doing it the right way.
Thanks, Denny.
Our next question is going to come from Matt Weaver. Go ahead with the question, Matt.
Hey, Denny, thanks for making the time today. During your content day at NBC, you had told them you're thinking about doing a super late model stint. You've got a lot going on, the Cup Series stuff, 2311. How far cooked is this idea?
It's going to happen. I've kind of had discussions already with some people about, what I'd like to do. I don't think that just showing up to the Snowball and being competitive, first time in a car that I've very rarely run, if maybe once or twice, it's not, I'm not going to go down there and do that. So it's going to take a few tests here and there. I'd like to run a warm-up race somewhere before. So I believe that, I can work it in off weeks and things like that, where it doesn't distract us from anything else. And truly for me, I think everyone knows that I like distractions. Distractions are good for you. You got to get away from the grind of the sport at times. And so even if it's racing something else, that takes my mind off of, my daily grind of being a race car driver and a team owner. So this will be a lot of fun. And it's just something that I've always wanted to do for the last 5 or 6 years. And now hopefully going to make that happen.
And kind of on a similar topic, is there a way you think using the 2311 platform to work on that diversity and inclusion background, but get it to start at the grassroots level and then work its way up to national touring as well?
Well, I mean, certainly that's a big goal and a lofty one, and one that I'd love to do. I mean, sure, I'd love to have 2311 in all types of different series and have a feeder going all the way up to the Cup Series. It's not on my radar right this second, but certainly it's something that it does interest me in the long term. But at this point, I can tell you, as of a few months ago, it was like, boy, let's just get to Daytona. Can we have a car that makes circles? That's going to be the key. And but I feel good about where we are now. And now, as the season gets going, we start racing. Now we can start to focus on, okay, what's our long-term growth plan, and where do we want to go with this?
10-4. Thanks, Denny.
Yep.
Our next question is going to come from David Smith. Go ahead with the question, David.
Hey, Denny. Obviously, speed matters to a degree at a track like Daytona, but it's not everything. And for you specifically, is there any kind of handling quirk that you prefer your race car to do at Daytona?
There is. I would say that I typically have my setup is a little bit different from my teammates simply because of how I like to drive and the positions I need to put myself in at the end of the race to make aggressive moves. I need my car to do certain things for that, and it may not always make it the fastest, but it's over time I've learned I need my car to do certain things to be able to make the moves I need to make at the end of the race to win. So I think it's a little bit, kind of sometimes off the beaten path of what just simulation says, oh, this will be the fastest. I think that I typically just say, I need the car to do this. I don't care if it's slower. Like if it does this, then I can make the moves I need to, and I can manipulate the air and the situation I'm around enough to make the difference.
Can you offer any specifics about what some of that is?
No.
10-4. Thanks.
Sorry.
Our next question will come from Dustin Albino. Go ahead with your question, Dustin.
Yeah, Denny, from never being a prior team owner at the cup level, is there one thing that's been more challenging, over the last 4.5 months that you might have been not a pushover, but would have been easier from an ownership standpoint?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Yep. So over the last 4.5 months since you guys announced the deal, has there been one thing from the ownership standpoint that you thought would have been easier than than it has been?
I mean, really just having trust in the people that we hired to do their jobs. I mean, that's been the biggest help in all of this, is that, I've got a lot of people with a ton of experience over there. And, whenever I go by there, which is, pretty often, it's like, yep, that got done, that got done, that got done. And it's just, they're adults, they're professionals, they know what they're doing. And so, although it has kept me up at night at times worrying about little tiny details, these guys, they got it. And, slowly but surely getting my confidence in the sense of like, letting these guys just do what they do and not have to, check up behind them, because I just worry about things like, what have we missed? Do we have this? Do we have that? But they're on it, and just gives me the confidence every time I go by and see that, all the solid stuff that's getting done, that, I can trust them.
Thank you.
And our final question is going to come from Davey Siegel. Go ahead with the question, Davey.
Hey, Denny, just hearing you talk about, hoping you get the car to just go in a circle leads me to believe that there's been some trying times this offseason, and there's also been some positive ones. But coupling that with just reflecting on the past season and trying to improve for this upcoming one, what have the overall emotions from your standpoint been in the last few months?
Well, I mean, it's slowly built up, and I'm in the excited phase now. Like it's, this is these guys are working their tails off, both at Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311. They're burning the midnight oil, literally. So, but it's an exciting moment for me. I mean, I think I was saying the other day, I was just like, I can't believe, I never would have believed 1 year ago, I'd be fielding a cup car, and for the Daytona 500. Like it's, it takes me, it catches me off guard at times, and hard to believe. And then I think about, we got history here to make with our FedEx team to win 3 in a row. I mean, there's just a lot of really good things going on with me, personally and professionally, that a lot to be grateful for. And so I just, there's been trying times, but a lot of it has been, with the race team, like, when you got to buy everything from scratch, like, is things going to get delivered in time? And there's snowstorms, and there's COVID, and like, this is delayed, that's delayed. That's where the trying times is, like, making sure you got everything you need to go compete. But I think that over the last month, the confidence has gone through the roof. Everything is caught up on schedule, and seeing the cars go through the shop now fully wrapped on the setup plate, getting the final adjustments, that's exciting to me. And then when I go to JGR, it's like, is this the car? Is this the car we're going to lose for a year? Is this the one that's going to make history? Like, it's great to see how excited, my JGR team as well.
Good deal. Thanks, Denny.
Denny, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We look forward to seeing you deliver some more action at the World Center of Racing next week. Good luck to you.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.